Welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Another best of the best on the show today. Most recently, she was awarded a top individual producer in the Northeast Florida region for Keller Williams. 8 closings in the month of June for over $3.6 million. May, she did over $2.7 million. As we can see, she is consistently in the $1 Million Club with Keller Williams Jacksonville. She is recognized by Jack's Real Producers magazine for her production in 2021. She's a luxury real estate agent with Keller Williams. Let's welcome Paige Wajsman to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Just doing some research on you. You have that the mojo behind you recently in the May and June. With great production. So I really want to dig out of you today. What are some of the things that you're doing in your business, that we can hopefully inspire new agents or anyone listening to the show. Maybe there's something you're doing that they're not doing enough of. So, but let's kick off. Where are you from?
I am originally from Birmingham, Alabama. And left when I was 18, actually went to the University of Michigan for my freshman year of college. And
LinkedIn didn't tell me that.
Wow, was it cold.
Yes.
Seriously. So it was really too cold for me, kind of dreary.
Yes. So
reapplied to college again, applied to Texas and Florida, and never looked back. I've been in Florida since 1993. Graduated University of Florida in 96, met my husband while I was there, and we moved to Jacksonville in 1997.
Yeah, Michigan is cool. I mean, that's where in 2005, I chased my now wife up there. I was living in Troy. She was over in East Lansing, so it was about 80 miles away. So she was near Michigan State. But yeah, I drove up there with a Mustang with rear wheel drive. And one morning I come out and it wasn't a deep snow, but there was enough ice and so forth. And, the plow had gone by and there was just this little hump of ice, behind in front of the car that it was hard for that Mustang to get over that. So I immediately went and traded it in and got a one of the Jeep products, not a Jeep, but I forget what, the Commander, I think. You had to get out of that snow.
Yep. I actually have a funny story. So growing up in Birmingham, my father was a diehard Bama fan, and I remember going actually to a game with Paul Bear Bryant. Mm-hmm. Anyways, prim and proper, everyone in Birmingham and Auburn and
they dressed like Paul Bear.
Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really changed that much. So I'm in the fall of my freshman year at the University of Michigan. My parents came up for a game.
Right.
I hadn't yet been to a game in Michigan, a home game. So as we're going there, my father is letting me know that the top of the stadium is ground level. So we are, we're under the ground,
right?
Freezing fall day, freezing. So we're used to pop. Who wants a pop? Who wants a soda pop? Right. This is hot chocolate. Who wants hot chocolate? Yeah. And I mean, look,
then they pull out their bottles and put a little bit.
Really, what an experience! Right. I mean, we were all freezing.
Yeah. It is a different lifestyle for sure.
It is a different lifestyle.
Even growing up in the Northeast, it doesn't get as cold. I grew up in Cape Cod. It does not get as cold as it does in Michigan. It's a totally different winter.
It is a different kind of cold, different than Colorado.
Yeah.
Cold to the bone.
So you thaw out. You come to the University of Florida. What are you thinking from a career-wise at this point? You're 20. At this time probably 20 years old. What are you envisioning yourself doing, or are you envisioning anything?
That's a great question. The other reason I left the University of Michigan, believe it or not, is as large as the school is, they did not have an undergraduate major for a registered dietitian. They had it for graduate school, which is very strange because it's very common. Right. So I actually was going to be an RD. That was what my goal was. I was very into healthy eating, exercise, and I transferred to UF. Long story. Mom, she's fine today. She got breast cancer on one of the summers I was there. I was taking microbiology. Anyways, the sciences that you really needed for a registered dietitian turned out to be very difficult for me. So I got pretty close to it. So I graduated with from Florida with a Bachelor's of Science in Health Science Education. That allowed me to either do worksite health promotion, school health, or nonprofit.
Right.
And actually came up for one of the summers to St. Vincent's Wellness Center and did some stuff for them. It was an internship over the summer of '96. Right. So first job that I could get, Johnson & Johnson at the time was the only one that was really doing the work site health promotion and kicking it off, this is way back again, in the mid-'90s, that they had a facility and they did blood work and cholesterol checking and all of that. They offer that. So it was really hard to get a job, but I did get a job doing school health, first in Denellen, the Ocala School District. And then that's how we came to Jacksonville. My husband got a job here at Winn-Dixie Stores, and I was working at Fletcher High School at the beach.
Oh, okay.
And school health. So that was eye-opening as well.
How long did you stay at Fletcher?
I was there about 2 years. Mm-hmm. Had my first child. But, school health was not really what I had wanted long term. Sales is in my blood. So I actually started working at the University of Phoenix, which is a college for working adults, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah. I haven't seen so many advertisements from them recently. Now you say that.
I have not either.
Yeah, they were big on advertising for a good bit there.
Yeah, they really helped a lot of working adults get that MBA.
Right.
So it is sales. You are compensated for the way or how many enrolled, and I quickly went from enrollment counselor to enrollment manager.
Cool.
And,
you said this, you like sales. What previous experience, because you went to school for the dietitian type work, what previous experience did you have in sales that gave you interest in the Phoenix job? Your parents in sales,
really
or
don't,
you just
my father had his own business. He also had way back when a beauty supply store. We'll get to this later, I'm assuming, but I'm a third generation realtor.
Okay.
Come
all right.
Full circle to that.
Yeah.
My first job, right when I could drive, when I was 16, I worked at a Benetton store in Birmingham.
Right.
I wanted extra money, and that was, my mom has always been in retail. I was a competitive soccer player, competitive diver. And swimmer.
So you like a little.
So I think I don't know how much it is regarding the sales as it is. I like competition, very much so like competition.
Right.
So I think that's.
So you're at Phoenix for
a couple.
I'm filling this in because I tell all my audience here, I try to research as much as you on LinkedIn as possible. And obviously we've never met face to face before. And so LinkedIn had this gap between college and your first real estate job, when you entered real estate. So let's fill this in.
You know what, Tracy? I am so glad that you are not able to find every minutia detail about me online. That makes me feel really good. Yes, university was a great job too. 9 to 6. Ended up having a second baby, and you really didn't leave at 6, right? The school started at 6:30 to 9:30. I didn't get home till 7. Kids super young. I never saw them. Right. Never. They were going to bed at 7:30. And after my second child, I actually was stay-at-home mom for 2.5 years. I did end up teaching at my kids' preschool, and that was I was there for maybe a couple of years again, the teacher and me. But back in, this was 2005, my husband was still working at Winn-Dixie, happy there. And they declared bankruptcy. I don't know if you remember back in 2005, they declared bankruptcy, and I was stay-at-home mom or making a few thousand a year. And I kind of looked at him and thought to myself, okay, well, we don't know what's going to happen. And he never did lose his job, thank God, but it took him about 6 months to find another. But I decided I better do something, and I wanted the flexibility, obviously, because I was a stay-at-home mom. And that's what I did back in the day. I guess there were a few online real estate classes, but I knew I needed to escape and leave the home to study. So I went to the Florida Real Estate Institute in Orange Park. He would get home at 5:15, and I would leave, and Tuesday and Thursday, and didn't tell a soul. I was so scared. I was so nervous, and about getting my license, about going back to school, about passing my license.
Right.
Even when I took that test, I knew for sure that when I hit that button finish that I was going to fail and have to retake it. That wasn't the case. But yeah, and
so this is now, if I recall, I thought it.
This is 2005.
2005, you get your real estate license.
Yeah.
Okay, I was placing it all the way back. So your phone started ringing from the brokers at this time, wanting you to come over, or you knew where you wanted to hang your license at? What's?
Nope. I interviewed at two places, Watson and Keller Williams, and due to some timings of some of their meetings, that Watson wasn't going to be a good fit for me, and Keller Williams was wonderful, very flexible. When I got into real estate, I was dropping my kids off at school at 8:30. Originally, I would pick them up at 12:30, but now they were going to stay there. I didn't need to be at home while they're napping, so I let them nap, and I picked them up after their naps. And the coolest thing about real estate, and I'll talk to some of my buyer's agents or anybody about it, I say nobody really knows who you have an appointment with. If you have an appointment with your kids at 3 o'clock, you have an appointment, right? If I have an appointment 100%. With a buyer at 4 o'clock, I have an appointment. If I have a dentist appointment at 9, I still have an appointment.
Right.
So that is something I held true to, and until they were older and whatnot. I mean, still today, I have one kid left at home. And so she has to be taken and picked up, but the flexibility of real estate. If I had known it way back,
that statement you just made about the scheduling. Mm-hmm. Did someone teach you that, or is that something you picked up in a seminar? Where did you? Because I know personally, my lovely wife, she's a realtor as well, and I tell her, hey, you need to go get that massage for more from a physical standpoint, not for just, hey, I want to have a massage for the pleasure of having a massage, but that weekly. And she's like, well, when do I have time? I said, you set the schedule and you go do it. You have an appointment. You can't be at the whim of everybody. Otherwise you'll never get anything done.
Yeah. Great question, and I definitely would contribute this to my success. And Keller Williams has an incredible book written by Gary Keller. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I'm certain you've heard of it. Yeah. And they talk a lot about the 80-20 rule and a lot about the setting of your tone during the day. In the day, your tone, your schedule. They advise and want us all to work out, and we need to get it. If you don't get anything done in the morning, it's not going to exist. Yeah. I tell people this.
You got to get 80% of your day done by noontime. Yes, I agree with that.
Yes. Yeah. So here's the catch, though. There are no 2 days alike in real estate.
I agree. There's no two customers alike. Yeah.
So I can assure you that what I'm going to be, last night I looked at my calendar. I knew where I had an appointment at 9 a.m. and an appointment at 11. And I guarantee you when we're done talking, what I think I was going to do this afternoon is not going to be the case. I mean, I already have some text about offers. I already have this I have to set up, different things. And so that's exactly right. Yep. Get what is the most important things done that are going to help you to be successful in what your goals are. Right. And the non-important things, either you hire somebody to do them, which I did pretty quickly in my early on in my career, or you have to set the time block for those things as well, because they have to get done, but they're not the steps that are going to make you, they're not necessarily money-bearing activities.
Listening to industry podcasts, talking to the, 75 real estate agents that I've had on the show, that part that you just mentioned about learning quickly that you reach a lid, and then you've got to start spilling some of these tasks. We like to use the term administrative task, whatever they do, get that transaction coordinator to start spilling some of these things off on them so you can continue doing the things that keep your business moving. And the fact that you learn that early has to be probably a leap forward in someone who's been in the business as long as you have, because so many hit that lid and they keep hitting their head against the ceiling all the time because they're afraid to make that first hire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, in all honesty, my first mentor was Gene Rivers, who's actually the owner of the Market Center. And he told me a year and a half at least before I did it to hire an assistant.
Yeah.
And, woulda, shoulda, coulda, finally I did it. And I was just so nervous about how I was going to still reach my goals, but I needed to pay her a salary. And boy, that it's so right. Just make a list of all the things you don't find joy in doing when it comes to a transaction. And we're not all the same, right? Some people love details and love paperwork. Others love salesy, negotiating, making phone calls. Others love your end of the business. Mm-hmm. So it's right. We are all specialized. Yes. And it was a huge relief. I was doing paperwork at night.
I've talked to owners of large lending corporations just in the last 6 months, and listening to some of them make some statements, and I'm like, you haven't originated recently. You're not part. The business has changed from, and this might be a bad analogy, but you may agree or disagree. You've been here long enough that you've seen, I think, the transition of the real estate agent being the wife of the doctor who wanted a hobby to do, to now you have some really young people that are coming into it as almost their first career.
Yes.
And doing really well because they're doing the things that the Millionaire book from Keller Williams is telling them to do. Yeah. They're being mentored, and here, these are the steps to be successful. And part of that step is, and it's the same in the loan officer world. The loan officers, if you don't have an assistant and you're wondering why you're only doing 3 to 5 loans a month, which you can make a decent living doing that, but there are people making 6 figures as loan officers because they are that point person. They are building the relationships and bringing it, making the phone ring, as I call it. And then they have the support staff. It's the same way the real estate agents are working.
Yes.
There's no shame against that. There are people who like to be in that cube, and there's other people who like to stand up in front of a crowd or go out and meet new people, and that's why you get paid the bigger bucks. It's just 2 different jobs. But understanding that is the only way. Of course, I'll go back to Grant Cardone. 10x your business, because you'll reach a lid. Yeah. As John Maxwell talks about, reaching the lid. Or we talk about John Maxwell pre-show. You reach a lid, and you can't go any further until you start to branch out. But I have 3 things as my job list every single day, every single week. It's networking, lead generating. It's showing buyers homes and going on listing appointments. Building a relationship with that client.
And it's executing the contract. Mm-hmm. That's it. Everything else, I have the right people in place to take care of.
Follow up on the appraisal, make sure the loan's going through, and keeping tabs on the updates of that.
Like, for instance, on my way here, just got an executed contract. My buyer was just texting me, okay, let me know about inspections and next steps. Mm-hmm. And I said, absolutely, you're going to hear from my assistant, Amanda, this afternoon. Yep. And otherwise, after this, I'm going to go, Mm-hmm.
I was actually talking to a good friend of mine. I won't tell you where he works out there. I'll tell you after the show if you want to. But they're trying to get out into the retail market, and they're talking about the loan officer, that the loan officer is dealing directly with the underwriter. There's no processor in the middle, no loan assistant in the middle. And I'm like, you are not going to grow, because your loan officer is going to be sitting there. They'll make a relationship. They'll get that contract, like you said. But now they're going to coddle that loan. So they're only good for 2 or 3 loans a month at best because they're coddling and because they're having to deal with the underwriter. Underwriter speaks to no one. And you need to, like you said, that introduction. And, as a loan officer, as you introduce your client, we introduce, hey, as I got Matt sitting here, hey, Matt's our loan assistant. He's going to be the go-to guy. He's on top of it right now. I'm here. He'll keep me updated. He's going to keep you updated.
Yeah.
And it's the only way to get volume and really excel at what you do. Yeah. So many have that challenge. So it sounds like you had some mentorship, or were you, like I said, were you reading? Who got you started? Because you seem to move pretty quickly into understanding this at early stages in your business.
Well, it doesn't have to be Keller Williams, but for me, it was Keller Williams. I mean, they just had a great training program. And I'll say that to any agent out there. If you ask me I still do training, and I've been doing this for 17 years. Yep. Never stop learning. But there are so many details to becoming a realtor besides learning about all the paperwork and how to do the legal stuff and the contract. There's just so many other details that are not necessarily something that you're reading about or you're at a training. It's the hands-on doing, following somebody, watching them how to host an open house, watching them go around with buyers. I mean, you name it. And that's why there are mentors in this business, which is wonderful.
Yes.
But Keller Williams actually is world renowned. It's a #1 training, education, technology company as far as real estate goes, right. And other businesses also are copying KW. But they have this Ignite for new agents. Used to be called something else when I got in the business, and I can't remember what. But I go
Ignite just sounded better.
I go to conferences, both KW and non-KW conferences. I follow some of the people that you mentioned, which is Maxwell and Cardone. Mm-hmm. Also love Tony Robbins. The Ferry Network is great. So
this is a common theme, different stories of how people got there, but education. And I think I don't want to say general. I don't want to generalize the statement, but the importance of educating and observing. Even you as a top producer, you could say, "Yeah, I'm good with my business. I don't need to go see what that other realtor has to say." Or Tony Robbins, he doesn't sell real estate. Why do I need to go listen to him? But how important is it in keeping you fresh with every new buyer or listing appointment that you have, to have, I call it mental mojo. To me, listening to a good podcast, a positive story. Obviously, Tony Robbins, very positive energy. John Maxwell, I mean, you listen to those guys and you want to go run through walls afterwards, yeah. Right?
Right.
How important, not only to get non-realtor stuff from like them, but and I say non-realtor stuff because it's not saying, hey, this is how you need to go sign the contract. It is business and sales and people and relationships, influence and credibility, as we talked about pre-show, that you're getting from those guys. But also, like you said, you go to non-Keller Williams events. How important has that been in your career to keep you fresh and moving forward, 17 years into business?
Yeah. I mean, that's such a great question. One of the biggest things that has helped me over the past 17 years is when you go to these events, you're networking. And that's just a way for people to know, oh, you're an agent in Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, mm-hmm. Well, this person is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. If I need a referral, back and forth. And I don't only get referrals from KW agents. Another thing that I learned early on, and it's even more important now, is to surround yourself with 5 people that are better than you, better and bigger than you.
You've been listening to my podcast.
No, but we probably are listening to the same thing.
Yes, we are.
You want to have relationships and be in people's worlds who you want to be. And right. The top people do that. Gary Keller is the one who says that to us. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really, really important to keep fresh, to educate yourself. I'll tell you, I even have millennial children, but if I wasn't at some conference or educational event and somebody said out loud on stage, make sure you're addressing millennials the way they want to be addressed, which is mostly by text only. If they didn't like say that out loud, I don't know that it would have been so impactful. I mean, I would have figured it out, but you have to remember, when I've been doing this for so long, it's a lot of mostly just phone and then following up with emails. We have a whole new world. So yeah, all the brand new 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, of course, they, but one of the first things you're supposed to do when you have a new client is ask them their preferred method of communication. And so I'm not saying I never text, but I mean, there's preferred methods. Some millennials just don't talk on the phone at all.
I've done complete transactions through text message or even Facebook Messenger. Going back and forth. And obviously, since we talk about the change and staying up with it, I mean, since 17 years ago and today, how much social media plays in part of your marketing game.
Oh, yeah. That has been a big learning curve. Absolutely. And I have needed help, education on that.
A lot of millennials, if I think it's changing I know it's changing the landscape a little bit from a point, because there are people at home. If you are really good at doing TikTok, if you're really good at doing reels and so forth, there's realtors. There are more mature adults like Paige and I who need that assistance, and we will pay you to help.
Hey, Tracy, my 14-year-old said, "Mom, your Instagram needs help. I really want to help."
Exactly.
And you know what? She'll probably will do a great job. I just need her to sit down with my assistant, and the two of them can come up. But yeah,
my son has his little YouTube channel, and he's in there editing some of the stuff. I'm like, I actually want to send him to some course so he could start editing some of my stuff, putting it out there. There is an entire marketplace out there. Since we're on that subject, how and you're evolving, as I think everyone is constantly, as social media is constantly evolving, right? There's another, how the reels are important, or, short-term content. We're doing long-term content, but we're going to cut some reels out of here where you're saying something inspirational, and we'll repurpose that content in the future. But how has social media changed how you do business?
It's a great question. I think social media is helping along, again, with credibility. People want to do business that we know with people they like, know, and trust. So it's not just that you're giving them a sheet that says, I've done this, 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 the old-fashioned resume. Now they can actually see and feel, so to speak, what you've done, who you are as a person. That's why it's so important to do personal and business. You're supposed to sprinkle the business
5 to 1.
Yes.
5 to 1 personal. I don't do enough the personal.
It is 5 to 1. It's hard to remember. My husband and I are fortunate. We have many rental properties, and sometimes I'll just forget to shoot. Hey guys, coming over to this rental property to go do XYZ.
Right.
Could be as little as replacing a filter.
Right.
Could be as big as videoing because this tenant left the place, with a big mess.
Life as a landlord.
I think that it allows for me. I really, my real stuff is my real stuff. I post it if we're doing vacations. I post it not for people to see, oh gosh, Paige is going on a vacation, but to see that how family oriented we are, and what that means to me, and.
Well, part of that like and trust is, the commonality. Maybe you said Colorado, or maybe you're going to Colorado for vacation or something. Oh, I've been to. People relate to that, whether you want University of Florida, and people you relate that, or the Michigan didn't even know that part of your story. That you went there. Oh, I went to Michigan as well. You've treaded over the same turf, and people start to relate that, oh, she's like me. And I think the one thing that really I believe that a lot of people don't understand, and I sometimes have to catch this too, and remind myself as a social media, is when someone's watching you on videos, or if you're watching Facebook Live or watching this in replay, your brain does not differentiate the video versus that person being live in front of you.
Right.
And so you and I talking and telling about your story, if they're watching us, they are relating to you and your story. Maybe you've had similar past, maybe it's the same age or whatever it is, or that, like I said, you're putting those kids out there that, hey, she's got 2 or 3 kids, I got 2 or 3 kids, and then they start to build that relationship.
Absolutely.
Although I think you would agree that most people have the same pitfalls as everybody else in their lives, just at different times, challenges, whether it's financial or whatever, kids doing stupid stuff, us doing stupid stuff. But it's when they see it on video, they'd actually say, hey, that's a real person.
Absolutely.
And I strongly believe, since we live in Florida, and I know this has got to be true, we have so many people moving from a distance here that they are Googling us. Oh, yeah. And finding, they are going on our social media, they are going on our LinkedIn and saying, hey, who is this person I'm talking to on the other end?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, they are. And
we talked about some of the changed pace a little bit. What are some of the initial challenges you had early in your career?
That's a great question. Challenges. Well, I think when you're first starting, it's always about lead generating. Just as some newer agents that I've recently met, they're scared, or they don't want to contact their sphere. Their sphere of influence is, the first thing you're supposed to do is gather your contact list, upload it to a CRM, and start calling the people that already know you, like you, and trust you.
Right.
And
hopefully.
So yeah. I really was a go-getter. I was told when I signed up at KW to find an agent who will let you host an open house. Mm-hmm. I did it, and I actually sold that open house to a buyer that walked in.
Awesome.
So that mine was a rarity.
There are success stories to the open house.
It was such a rarity, but it kicked off my career because I then, I sold it for the buyer, and the buyer needed me to sell their home. So cool. I was super excited about that. Do believe in open houses. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They do need to be done right. But challenges is when I was first starting as an agent, as I said, I was also the stay-at-home mom role. Husband worked in corporate America. Right. So I was responsible for everything, right? Getting them to school, picking them up, taking them to the activities. As time went on, I ended up getting a nanny because we could afford it. Mm-hmm. And so those are the challenges. There's been a lot of talk recently about maybe some of the newer agents, not maybe, the ones who have become agents in the past 2.5 to 3 years really don't know what we're getting into right now over the past 4 weeks. And so it's the learning, it's the knowing what you can do and what we've previously done. It's the agents that already know how to think out of the box on being creative with some offer terms. We've just experienced it. Yeah. So it really is a longevity type of thing. But let's go back to what I've been talking about. It's the education. The more these agents go to their companies' weekly meetings and sessions, or have, a lot of these companies, our companies, we have guests come in and talk about different things. Could be from a home warranty to a lender to anything, staging company. Right. And it's just learning, and there has to be some time block in the day for that learning, and then never to be afraid to ask any questions at all. Never.
Two things actually there on your education piece. The education, whether it's at that sales meeting, which you all should be attending. I'm not a big fan of the Zoom meetings. There are some times it has to be done, but sometimes you got to get in the office and you got to hear the stories, because as we mentioned, there's no two customers the same. There's no two houses that are the same. They may be the same model from the same builder, but they're sitting on a different lot on a different street and in a different neighborhood. Whatever, nothing is the same. Yep. And you've got to hear the stories, and the only way to navigate, I think you would agree with this, through whether they're soft bumps or a market change where you have a larger bump to go around, understand you've been doing this long enough, 2008, 9, and 10, the foreclosures and how to deal with that. The rates dropped, they've gone up, down, and then obviously, for roughly a year and a half, or most of 2021, where, 20 offers on a house or more in some of these cases. Yep. How are you going to deal with that? And the only way you can do that with confidence is having the baseline of constantly filling your bucket of education. Yep. To give you the at-bats, really, right?
Yep, absolutely. And we just need to be asked the questions, but these meetings are when they will share with you, your brokerage will share with you and say, okay, the interest rates are high, what can we do? Okay, or speak to a lender. Mm-hmm. And, what is a great educational moment or option is, hey, back in the day, we used to ask for 3% of buyers' closing costs prepaids, but now let's ask for that 3% and use it to perhaps buy down a rate.
Buy the rate down, right.
I learned it from, hearing it. I knew it in the back of my head, it's possible, but amazing loan officers like you are sharing it. Our team meeting are sharing it. The groups that I'm a part of on Facebook that I'm reading about, I'm scrolling and that's happening. And
I was just at an event in Tahoe, early, the second week of the month, and that was one of the things we were talking about. And some of from guys and gals from all around the country, top loan officers talking about some strategies to resell it, to keep and obviously get in front of the real estate agents and show them, hey, there's some things that us adding value to restructure it. Yeah, ask for the rate buy down, keeping you guys up to date on, hey, you know what, if someone pays a point or two, this will get them here if that's going to make that payment. Because one of the things I learned, and to bring it up just to share with everyone, most loan officers know this, but we take it for granted. They're better off buying the rate down than they are for you to drop the price of the home. Yeah. The payment is going to be less because of the rate, not because you drop the price. And the rate buy down is going to be much cheaper.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your seller makes out and gets what they want for the home. Basically, are splitting hairs more or less versus dropping it $20,000. Maybe they spend $10,000 on points. So they'd have to drop the price $20,000, and so they win there. It's a win-win situation. But yes, going to those events and then sharing it with you guys as is so important. I forget what the second part of that thing. There was two things that you said there, and I'll have to come back to it. Okay. Because I got caught up in my thought there. You went to California for a couple of years.
I did.
And you stayed with Keller Williams.
I did.
Went out there, went to San Francisco. What was that all about?
Well, I think that's a big circle back to my previous like of education and what that is. So I was a team leader. I was head of a very big Keller Williams office right outside of San Francisco in Burlingame, California, over 250 agents. Wow. And it's recruiting them and telling them about my passion and why I love Keller Williams. I really did quickly miss the sales part, though. Oh. Sales is different in money. It really is. Yeah. KW is really cool, though. You can be a mentor for somebody and not be on leadership. You could be a mentor as an agent. But yeah, we have family out there, and
so was this an opportunity with Keller Williams?
It was.
It wasn't like your husband got transferred out there or anything.
No.
Jason was actually an opportunity within Keller Williams. Interesting.
And he actually ended up working for the company as well. As it's a market center administrator, kind of like office manager who pays all the agents. Most important guy in the office, right? All they want their
keeping
checks.
The books.
All they want is their checks. Yeah.
Right. So what? Just your experience from here. Because we know we've got a lot of Californians moving here. Yeah. From there, what was your little taste? Because you were there a couple of years, right?
Yeah, and I actually ended up getting licensed out there. Tracy, we could be here all day. It is. It is night and day. It's California. It's not a surprise. Is very litigious. Mm-hmm. So it's a bunch of just. A bunch of paperwork and disclose this. More than we even have here, and it's pretty incredible. Some very young, amazing people with the ability to buy the home prices there at that early of an age is mind-boggling.
Just hearing some of the cost to live in San Francisco, whether it's your water or I imagine the taxes and everything, is just amazes me and can blow the average person's mind. Who do you, or you talked a little bit about education, but always around, is there a particular person you like to follow, or maybe following right now? I know with me, I kind of change every few months. I might start listening to someone else, or are you listening to Buffini or some of the other real estate agents, or maybe someone not even in real estate, someone like John Maxwell or something? Who are you? Who's like your go-to podcast or book person?
Right. So that is a great question. Right now, I am heavily into Airbnb groups because we are we're transitioning from one of our rentals to make it an Airbnb, and then we're buying another one. Mm-hmm. As far as my business itself training, I've been going to a couple of Jeff Glover's trainings. Love it a lot. He's got some great resources.
And you'll be going to the Keller Williams family event that's coming up here soon.
Next month, or this month, it's August.
Yeah.
I always go to all of those. That's a huge networking opportunity, and it's how I've met so many people, and especially other KW agents. Keller Williams is international. Yeah. It's all of the United States and internationally. We're in Dubai, we're in Israel, we're in South America, Europe. It's really incredible. And as you said, because of that, we have an international business where when we advertise our listings, you've got people with a lot of money from California, you've got Canada. When they get uneasy in the stock market, they want to put it in real estate. Right. And due to COVID and due to the past 3 years, as we're doing today, it's a video, it's technology to advertise your listings, it's walkthroughs. I probably had 10 listings close in 21 with sight unseen. Both investors and
primary homes.
Yeah, 10 closings and primary. So technology has helped us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How important, and you touched on it a little bit by surrounding yourself by, the 5 successful people, and they may not actually be within arm's reach of you. They may be someone who you coach, or you might be a long distance relationship. But when you go to the big Keller Williams hoopla here this month, how important is, you're going to listen to some keynote speakers. John Maxwell, I saw the ad, is supposed to be there. You're going to listen to those things. You're going to get some nuggets from them, or some motivation anyway, some energy from them. Yep. But how important it is, like, afterwards, grabbing someone to go out to dinner, or meet them for a drink or whatever later, and exchange stories, get caught up, and just be in the business.
Yes, so great question. It's an exhausting event for us for that reason. I usually hold a couple of coffee or breakfast meetings, and then happy hour right after the events.
Mm-hmm. So you actively are recruiting people to these things.
I want to,
you want to make sure you get with
them. Deepen the relationship that I already have.
Yes.
Somebody's invited me to a wine tour. Somebody's invited me to a boat thing. So it really is a people business, a relationship business,
Well, and from to give it some context for maybe the younger agents, and that doesn't mean actual physical age, but younger from an experience situation. The situation that we dealt with, and they're still dealing with it with the multiple listings, not as much as we did a year ago, but agents were overwhelmed because they weren't prepared. But because you have this network, how important it is that you are able to pick up the phone, whether it's locally or these longer distance relationships, to call and rely on, hey, how are you dealing with this?
Yeah.
And to hear the stories going back and forth. And that's why it's so important to collaborate with your fellow agents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At our office on Friday mornings, they have a breakfast, and everybody gets together 8:30 to 9:30, and for this exact reason, just to chit chat and talk about things during the week. different than the team meeting, you know. So that's a great opportunity. Also through COVID, you know, we were invited to all these different Zooms to like, how are we handling this exactly? Right. You know, what are we doing? And yeah, I was reaching out to other agents in other parts of the country for sure.
And you move your learning, you know, there's a new learning curve, like, oh my God, how do we handle 25 offers? So you have a new learning curve in front of you, and the only way to flatten that learning curve is to hear all the stories of everyone around it. Now, you may create your own thing to get through it, but you heard enough advice from enough people to form a best practices.
Absolutely. You know, well, and I'll tell you what we're in right now, or what I am in over the past week, is you can go to Zillow and you can see price reduction, price reduction, price reduction. Yeah. But then you could still get this special listing that has multiple offers. So I'm in the middle of that, okay? And it's the educating that I have to do to that buyer or seller. And that's the most important, because, yeah, they could say, well, Paige, I put an offer on blah, blah, blah street, and I was the only offer. Well, then we don't do anything different than what we've been doing. You multiple offers, you put your highest, you know, offer, your best foot forward with the best terms. And it's still happening. It's sporadic. It's different areas of town. It's.
I heard a story recently from another top agent. We were just casually talking. She listed the house at about, I think it was $625. No, nothing. Crickets. Dropped it to $599. Got 3 or 4 offers, a half a dozen showings, and they ended up, you know, between the different offers, getting it back to the $625 that they originally started. And this is, and having this experience and hearing that story and exchanging it with you're seeing this thing goes on. Yes. Because, you know, I think the typical buyer or seller, you know, how often they handle the transaction, they don't understand the squirrely things that are going on. You try to explain to them, right? You know, that, hey, you know, if we offer it down here, we're going to get multiple offers. They'll get in a little bit of a bidding war. Yeah. You'll get your top dollar, right. Or you can offer it there and get nothing, and then have to advertise that you drop the price, which generally gets most people to pull back a little bit. Go, oh, why are they dropping the price?
Right.
Yeah.
Statistically, if you go out the door first day on the market, priced where it should be, you'll always win, because if you have to lower the price, then they'll think, oh, you're desperate, or oh, this, and then even your offer will be less than the drop price part.
They'll lowball you a little bit to see how desperate you are. Yeah, 100%. You list yourself as the Paige Wajsman team. So is it just you and you a transaction coordinator, or you have some other? Tell us about the team.
So it's myself, a full-time administrative assistant, marketing person, and a buyer's agent.
Okay.
Always looking to hire another buyer's agent. Got a lot of leads, super busy on the buyer's end.
We don't hire, right? We don't hire in this business.
We recruit.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, really happy. Really, you know, very, very
So
happy.
you particularly like to master the listing side. Is that kind of your...
Yeah, I mean, listings is more so my specialty as far as bandwidth and what I can do. However, I've always helping buyers, always doing personal referrals all the time, and I'm thankful for all the referral business. And you know what? You know, I also have access to showing agents who will just unlock doors for me if I have other appointments. Because in the market that we just came out of, you got to go see the house right away. So somebody needs to be backup. Right. If a home has just gone on the market, that really meets your buyer's needs.
You mentioned earlier, you said, we were talking about open houses. You love open houses if they're done right. What's a couple things that are done right?
That's a great question. So you don't just advertise it, you do a bunch of marketing, just like you're marketing the listing. You put a lot of signs out, as many as you possibly can. I think right now we need to go back to, when I started, I was always putting balloons out. It's very time consuming. The coolest thing is you can hire people to put out signs for you. I have somebody.
Because it's hot out there sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and I have a runner who puts my for sale signs in the yards as well. Right. But you can have a runner who will put out all your directionals. And I think the biggest aha win for an open house is doing 100 door knocking the Thursday or Friday before.
100 door knocking.
And that is with a flyer, and that is letting the neighbors know first, hey, your neighbor's house is going to be listed.
Now, do you do an actual door hanger or an actual flyer? Like
we do a flyer.
Okay.
Yep. And we invite them. We're like, we'd love for you to come. The first open house is, this weekend. I, not in the past market we were, but I'm sure I'll get back into it. It's always dependent on price as well, but I would always host a Thursday evening wine and cheese neighbors only event.
Neighbors only.
And that's also letting them know, like, hey, you're special. Come see it first. Come tell, help us find your new neighbor. That's my phrase.
Well,
help us find your new neighbor.
A lot of times you open house and there are that neighbor wants to come by and see how it was decorated or whatever. And you're basically opening the door saying, come on in, you're welcome.
Yep. And then when you get it sold really quickly, you want to let those same neighbors know. So if they're thinking about selling their home, who are they going to call? Who are they going to think of? Who's going to be first in mind?
Well, I've said numerous times on the show, what amazes me about our area is the different communities and how many people move in the community, and then they have friends or family that are thinking about moving the area. And they're like, no, you got to move to my community.
Yeah.
And when you do offer that service to those neighbors, when their family member wants to move down, they're like, hey, Paige just sold this house 2 doors down. She invited us over. She gave us a glass of wine. We're going to call Paige to help us out with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another, I'm going to think of this, sir. Give me a half a second here. How important is it, even last year, when you knew, well, even right now, you put a house on the market, unless you're asking some crazy amounts worth. I have seen this happen for houses that aren't even worth $1 million, people asking $3 million for it. And I know so because it's in my neighborhood. So it's crazy. But how important is it that you do the basic steps to have the open house instead of just throwing it up there on the MLS, knowing you're going to get offers right away, and not actually going through some of those key steps to show the seller, but also the people who may be the neighbors who might want to sell their home, that you're putting the balloons out.
Yeah.
How important is that?
Well, it's very important. I even most recently in the past few weeks, I said, that's a brand new listing. And I'm like, are you having an open house? I would text the agent because my buyers are interested. And they said, no. I did not stop holding open houses at all over the past 2.5 years, unless for some reason, due to COVID, a seller didn't want it.
Right.
I did cut back a little bit on like I said, the wine and cheeses, and that's also a price, minimum price range specific anyways. But that is because they'd be coming in and sitting and enjoying wine, and out of respect for the illness and everybody else, we weren't doing that. But it's very important to have consistency, to show consistency. You can send somebody that you think is going to list a home or that's invited you to come over and give them a market analysis on what you're going to do. So it's one thing to go there and tell it. It's another thing for them to see you've done it.
Right. To do the drone footage or take the photographs, make that nice presentation on MLS, which gets over to Zillow, to show people you're first class, and and when you list their home, you're gonna do the same, give them the same first classness. We'll just say that. Same treatment.
You're gonna
do it right.
You're gonna do it right.
You're professional.
The red carpet. Yep.
Yeah. Because I think as many people get in, this is a get quick rich scheme. It's not. You have to actually put work in it. And if you're going to stay in the business as long as you have, and this is a business you can do as much as you want to the day you die. You may only handle select customers as you get older, but generally most realtors, they do just sort of fade off as they just take less and less business as the years go on. But it's your reputation that's out there and the value of your business to bring on buyers, agents, to support a transaction coordinator. You got to go and get the drone footage. You got to go and make the pictures and so everyone, that's part of your personal advertising, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To that future seller.
I know that there's a lot of talk out there, and you just see it on social media, or different agents are posting like, such and such seller is asking, my commission is too much. I get paid too much. Or there's a stigma that realtors stick a sign in the yard and then they get paid so much money.
Right.
And it's not that, as you just named all the things that we need to do. We also have a broker split. But if you have a plan, the plan costs money to implement. And, it is the sellers and buyers, most like 99% of the time, their largest investment financially. And so you need to make sure that you have gone the extra mile to get every last bit out of it for them, or negotiate the best price for them if they're a buyer. Because of that, it's the largest investment that an individual will have.
People don't see you making those phone calls. They don't see you, the time that is spent being done in the back office or your admins. There's so much of the business that obviously the average person doesn't see. And like you said, they see the sign and they see you show up and show the house a few times. Okay, you had to run from your car into the house in this heat of August, Northeast Florida. You sweated for 30 seconds. That's all they're seeing, and they have to understand. And the only way to do it is, I think, to be the consistent, doing the right photographs and so forth. We won't beat a dead horse there, but I think if you want to cut corners, it's just you're just not gonna have that longevity of the business.
Right.
Or you're going to have to learn to put these extra things in there. All right. So we're going to finish up here in the last couple minutes. You bring on some new buyer's agents, right? So have you hired a buyer's agent that's like really green, or most of the time it's experienced people that just want to work with you?
Both.
Okay. So we've got some newer agents. What are like 2 or 3 things you got? Someone wants to become a real estate agent. Or just got their license, that you think is very important for them to know based on your experience?
That it's not a piece of cake business, that there is a learning curve, and don't get discouraged. It's okay. I mean, it's a lot of information that is poured at you all at one time. And we all learn differently, so make sure you're out in the field with somebody else. I mean, agents want to help people, so whoever is in your office, hey, the next time you go on a listing appointment, may I come? The next time you show a house, can I come? Can I do an open house alongside with you?
Right.
Ask. Don't. If you get a no, keep going. Just as we've talked about the majority of the time, always be learning based.
Right. You can make good money in this business. There's no doubt. The real estate business, there's money to be made, but you've got to put the time in each and every day. And I think we started off, where you learn quickly to block the time, that you're going to spend this much time prospecting a day. You're going to implement these things and be regimented in it, and it will come. If it was so easy, 80% of your teammates that are in the class with you taking the class would stop being told they're not going to be, Right. If it was so easy, everybody would be doing it. It has a low level of entry, because you can go take the class, whatever, a few $100, whatever you spend to take the class, take the test. There's a low entry level, right. But really the entry level is you.
Yep.
That's the cost. Are you willing to put the personal time in and educate, and take mentorship from a senior person like yourself?
You just brought up something when you said you can make good money. There is one thing that I want to tell all agents out there that I learned early on from being educated about this. You don't want to chase the money.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
You are chasing the relationship. The money will come. But if you're chasing the money, it's going to show. We have to stand by our clients. We have to do everything in their best interest, and then checks come. They come. I mean, I'm not that proud. I have checks waiting in my office from last week. I didn't go run and pick them up.
Right.
One of the things
That's a good feeling, though.
that I feel that I do differently than I think a lot of agents out there, because I'm also an investor. Every listing appointment I go on, I am upfront and honest with them, and I say, look, I know you invited me over here to sell your home, but I would be, it wouldn't be right if I didn't bring this up to you. By the way, have you thought of renting out your home? Mm-hmm. Can you get to where you want to go without selling this? If so, I want to help you build wealth through real estate. And I am hey, do I lose some transactions over it? Yes. Have I built credibility? Yes. 100%. Are they going to still call me when they're ready to sell that rental? Yes. Are they going to refer me to other people because I said that? Yes. And I truly believe it. So I don't believe anybody.
You added a huge value to them.
Yeah, and I tell them all about it, and I tell them what needs to be done. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to be a landlord. And I'm like, okay, well, you could be at a property management company. I can refer you to somebody. And they're like, nope, I just don't even want to deal with it. I'm like, perfect. Let's go on with selling your home.
I tell, I hear borrowers, they're buying a $100,000 condo or something. And I've talked to loan officers. They don't call me back. Because the loan amount's only going to be $80,000.
No.
You don't know what rock you're going to uncover.
Yeah.
You don't know if that guy selling that $100,000 condo that you're like, you know what, I don't want to spend the time. I'm busy. You don't know if he's the guy who has the $3 million house out in Ponte Vedra. You don't know.
Yes.
And you've got to be consistent in what you're doing and adding value to everyone, and it will come back to you. And John Maxwell talks about that all the time. And when you start not calling people back because it's not enough money for you, 100% what you're saying is you're in the wrong game. And I think one of the big motivational things you see on Instagram and everything right now for the reels, it's not the result of the journey. You've got to enjoy the journey.
Yes.
And that's part of the journey, is adding value to other people's lives. And hopefully, maybe they end up keeping it as investment property, and now all of a sudden they're on a different trajectory in their life, and their net worth is so much more, and whatever it is. And because you took a few minutes to add value, you weren't selfish, thinking, I'm going to get my commission out of this. No, you thought about them first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. We hit on a lot of the things. Education, we talked a lot about that. Surrounding yourself by successful agents. We know the top agents locally, some of them get together. You've got to be going to these events. We talked about that. One thing I hear, and I don't know if we talked about it, what is one thing that you're doing now, whether it's something you just started because things you've learned in your education, or that's something you've been doing for 17 years, that you are consistently doing it now, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, in your business, that you think is moving you forward? Consistency is the question.
It is really digging deep with referral relationships, people who have given referrals, including past clients, but also other agents from around the country. And when we get a referral, we actually have a whole kind of marketing plan around that and how we thank them and keep them in the loop. So that is really important. One of the things that I have not been as consistent on that I have in the past, that I have now started simply because of the market, is 5 people to send handwritten notes to every single day. It works. It's great. You can make time for it. Even in the past 2.5 years, things just got sidetracked, and you don't want to go all out and start doing 10 things. It's better to do 3 things at a high level, 5 written notes every single day, no matter what. Don't go to bed. Don't pull in your driveway. Go to the mailbox, write the 5 notes. Then you can go home for the day. Mm-hmm. But again, don't try to do 10 things halfway. Do 3, 4 things at 100%. When you go to these major big conferences, you have 100 things,
all these ideas,
all these notes. Again, take a quarter and say, okay, during the first quarter or last quarter of the year, I'm going to do these things that were my takeaways. The next quarter, I'm going to do these things.
Add something to it.
Yes.
Add it to your business.
Yes.
Huge advice right there. Mm-hmm. Great tip, especially for all the Keller Williams agents that may be watching this, and you're going to go out. Maybe it's the first time you're going out to the event in Texas. You're going to get a lot of ideas. Take 1 or 2 that you can implement today. The 5, even the loan officer world, it's the same thing. Yeah. 5 people that maybe you touched that day, maybe you said hello, maybe you tried to get a hold of, interacted with. Just say, it could be a plumber that you need. Hey, can you go out and handle the situation at this listing I have? send them a thank you card. You don't know who they're interacting with, who they're having a barbecue with on Sunday. It says, hey, I need a real estate agent. And they just got your card in the mail that week. Or you know what? I got our card sitting on the counter. Boom. You know, you just don't know what rock you're going to do. That is huge advice right there. All right, finish up what I call my 2-minute warning questions. Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Oh, gosh. Well, I've been talking all about relationships. If I have to choose one, it'll be who I know. What I know can always be, if you ask a mentor, you ask a question, hey, Tracy, I need to talk to you about some rates, VA rates, or tell me what you think about this. I want to get a little creative with this transaction. I can ask, right? But relationships in this business is always number one.
Well, those mentors and those events that you went to, they're helping you guide to faster. We talked about the learning curve.
Yes.
You can flatten that learning curve by listening to the top people, and they're telling you what to do, whether it's on a podcast, in a book, or at the event you're going to.
But the true answer to your question is both are very important.
Yes. Well, you have to be competent. You have to be competent enough to know that who you know. And then the last thing, I always talk about lifestyle. I always do a little lifestyle video on Sunday when I go out on the boat. What is your favorite thing to do in Northeast Florida?
Oh my gosh, favorites.
Because you have how many kids?
I have 3.
3?
Well, we love our beaches, and my in-laws live in Atlantic Beach. We have a condo in Jax Beach, and then we have friends in Ponte Vedra Beach. So I find it really unique how different all of those 3 beaches I just mentioned.
Yes.
In Ponte Vedra, you have the number one place to find a shark's teeth and have a shark's tooth competition with your family.
Right.
In Jacksonville Beach, for us, it's kind of a big deal. No dogs on the beach from 9 to 5. They can be out before that or after that. Ponte Vedra dogs can be out all day long. And in Atlantic Beach, dogs can be out all day long. And I personally think Atlantic Beach has the most beautiful sand. The quaint area of Atlantic and Neptune is wonderful. So as far as, that's wonderful. We also have great trails, and we have Hannah Park. I love that my husband used to be a marathon runner. You can do triathlon stuff. Our zoo is new and beautiful. Just all the different water accesses that we have, the Intracoastal, the ocean.
St. John's River.
So I love it.
You got to go up in the creeks, and you got to go down the St. John's River. You got to go up in the Black Creek or up in the Julian Creek. A little different. You don't realize it's there, but it's right in our backyard.
We don't have a boat like you must do. You just said
Freedom Boat Club. I'm going to drop line on that.
Yeah. And we looked into that as well. But I'll tell you, we do this once a year. We always get a boat with family and friends, and we always go to lunch at either Whitey's or one of the places, and that's so much fun. But yeah, we have so much to offer here in Northeast Florida. There's also stuff to do an hour drive from here as well.
You're not that far. I mean, we're only really 140 miles from Disney. I mean, for the most part, an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're there. That's obviously the most probably trekked path, 95 to I-4, right, from here. But 100%. The one broker told me, people are starting to realize the little gem that we have here.
Yes, we do.
South Florida has gotten backed up that now people are like, Northeast Florida, it's not too bad. Right. There's a lot of stuff to do here. And
hey, they're redoing downtown Jacksonville. It's going to be a whole new, it's like a new birth of downtown Jacksonville.
Yes.
So.
But Paige, I appreciate you coming on today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I don't want to be remiss in not saying congratulations on all of your successes as well.
Thank you. And this will go out on Thursday, and obviously the video there, and I'll send you obviously a copy of the video. If you guys want to create your own reels from it, please do, and put in your social media, put on your YouTube page, because hopefully when someone searches you, this will come up. Some realtors on the show have had. I had, as I told you this morning, actually one of the top realtors said someone actually listened to their story and were impressed by it, and they chose her over another realtor because they heard the story. So that was very flattering.
I love it. That's great. That's
great.
Thank you. Thanks again.